John Conti was an enforcer, a leg breaker for the Chicago mob. Conti, that's not his real name, used to be a juice loan collector for the outfit, but got into hot water when he skipped to Arizona and started getting chummy with the feds. But before he went underground, Conti told us in a Silhouette interview how he would discourage recalcitrants from welching on their debts.
Using a Louisville slugger and gives him a little whack in the knees. And then every time he sits down, he knows that he didn't pay and he's got to pay.
Cigar-chomping Jasper Campisi, like Conti, was another outfit soldier who toiled many years in the crime syndicate vineyards. According to authorities, Campisi and this man, John Gattuso, a former Cook County Sheriff's deputy, botched an assignment given to them by mob superiors. The assignment, investigators say, was to liquidate Ken Edo, who was known on the streets as Tokyo Joe. Edo, a major figure in the Balita racket, had been convicted on gambling charges, and syndicate biggies were concerned he might end up talking to the wrong people. Edo was shot 3 times in the head, but miraculously survived. And Edo named Campisi and Gattuso as the would-be assassins. Edo joined the Witness Protection Program and, garbed like a medieval executioner, told his story to the President's Crime Commission. 5 months after the bungled murder attempt, the case was settled out of court. The bodies of Campisi and Gattuso were found in the trunk of a Volvo.
I think this is a message to other crime syndicate individuals that if they mess up, if they botch a job as Gattuso and Campisi did, this is what their reward is going to be for long years in the crime syndicate, is to wind up in the trunk of a car.
No such fate will ever be in store for Tony Accardo. Accardo has never even spent a night in jail, and at 83, investigators say the Big Tuna is the chairman emeritus of the Chicago Crime Syndicate. His tenure at the top is unmatched in mob circles around the country. In his halcyon days, Accardo lived in this 25-room mansion in River Forest. Although Accardo sold the property in the late 1960s, many of the amenities still remain. They include a 20 by 40-foot indoor pool, lined and surrounded by blue and white marble, a bowling alley with twin lanes, and a bathroom with gold-plated fixtures. Authorities took one last shot at Accardo in 1984 when they hauled him before a Senate committee in Washington. But in a 2-hour session, a straight-faced Accardo told the Solons that he knew nothing about any organized crime activity in Chicago.
We have information which may be said to be general public information that you headed the Chicago Organized Crime Syndicate for many years. Isn't that true?
No, sir.
That is not true?
No, sir.
Have you ever been associated in any way with any illegal activity?
Yes, sir.
What were those illegal activities?
Huh? I gambled.
Have you ever killed anyone?
No, sir.
Have you ever directed anybody to commit murder?
No, sir.
What was your association with with Al Capone?
None association at all. Just friendly. Hello, and how are you?
Although senators didn't believe Accardo's testimony, no attempt was made to cite him for perjury. The 1982 trial of former Teamsters President Roy Williams and 4 other men was the first major case in which court-approved electronic eavesdropping played a key role. Concealed cameras and hidden microphones are now standard fare in federal prosecutions. But without wiretaps, it's unlikely that Williams and the other defendants would have been convicted. This excerpt from a Williams conversation is an example of a tap where the technical quality is excellent.
I'm not going to forget it because we sat right there and committed ourselves.
Sometimes investigators plant bugs similar to these in a suspect's office or home. In the Williams case, authorities planted a listening device in a chair at the insurance office of Alan Dorfman. The bug picked up some incriminating remarks made by Dorfman that led to his conviction.
But Roy Williams just had his foot came right off and says, "You've got the practice, so don't worry about it."
Electronic eavesdropping had nothing to do with the conviction of Charlie Marzano and some of his Confederates. Lawmen say Marzano was the mastermind of the 1974 Purelator heist. More than $4 million was taken from the vault at the Purelator warehouse on the near north side. It was the biggest theft in history at the time. $1 million of the loot is still missing. And some sleuths think that Marzano knows where the money is. When Charlie was released from prison, we were there to ask him if that was true. 9 years after the Purelator heist, that there's $1 million missing and you know where it is. What's your rejoinder to that?
Fallacy.
To this day, the missing $1 million has not been recovered. Only a few blocks north of the former Purelator warehouse is Levinson's jewelry store. It was there in December of 1977 that a gang of professional thieves circumvented the alarm system and had a field day inside the store.
They must have had a truck out there. They cleaned out the store, all the watches and everything else out of the showcases, broke the showcases.
The score was impressive, $1 million worth of jewelry. The swag, authorities believe, was stashed in Tony Accardo's then River Forest home. According to police, the Levinson burglars foolishly tried to retrieve the loot and broke into Accardo's house. It was a costly mistake. Soon the bodies of 5 burglars began cropping up in car trunks. All had been tortured before they were murdered. The killers have never been apprehended.
Yeah, we had a 511 over there by Sears in the south side.
You meet a lot of characters on the crime beat. There was Fat Albert, who showed up with regularity at the scene of fires. Chicago firemen felt that when Fat Albert couldn't find a fire to watch, he'd set one of his own. In 1976, Fat Albert, whose real name is Albert Zenner, was caught setting a blaze at a North Side hotel and went to the penitentiary.
We watched our crime patterns in various fires on the near north side and the far west sides, and they went down approximately 35 to 40% with this man being in custody.
Last we heard, Fat Albert was telling folks that he'd seen the light and was traipsing the straight and narrow. Then there was the late millionaire horseman Silas Jane. Jane, who knew his horseflesh, went to prison with 2 other men in connection with the murder of his younger brother George.
Tell them guys what they're doing to me, will you? Threaten my life, buddy.
Jane, even in his 70s, was a tough old bird, willing to duke it out with men half his age. There was talk that Hollywood was going to do a movie on the Jane story, but it never materialized. Speaking of senior citizens, watch this man. Mob boss Joey the Dove Zayupa is as feisty as they come. Ayupa, who friends say boxed professionally under the nom de guerre of Joey O'Brien, can still toss a wicked punch. In this case, he also tried to goad our cameraman into combat.
Wish you'd take a whack at me. I wouldn't do that, sir.
But the cameraman kept his cool. Big Joe Arnold, who federal authorities say formerly ran the Rush Street rackets, is another golden ager who would see red at the sight of a camera. 5 years ago, a Channel 2 news crew followed Arnold out of the federal building, much to Big Joe's displeasure. Turning into a human billy goat, Arnold charged our cameraman. Then Arnold shoved our sound man against a parked car. That sound of agony came from the sound man, not Arnold. After venting his rage, Big Joe decided it was time to catch up with the news, and Arnold was last seen clutching a copy of USA Today against his face. Now, let's watch in slow motion Big Joe's bid to be a claimant to the Senior Citizens Heavyweight Championship. No official decision was rendered, but this observer gave Arnold the match on points.
Big money cow, my man Paz, MOP, First Family, y'all know how it go. Street shit. Yo, open your eyes, bitch. The hardest thing to accomplish was convincing the world that I didn't exist. Holy shit! Drama, blazing a 4-5 llama, raised to uphold my honor. Who don't respect me? Death be the BK Black Joe Pesci. Worse than 3 ways to death be. Niggas got beef? To bring some. I convert the whole concrete jungle in the animal kingdom. Shit, the way I figure it, you only be in called a rough rider cause you be all over motherfuckers' dick. You motherfucking coward, you ain't got sense enough to realize the niggas I browse with blowholes in your housing. Go ahead and put your foot in your mouth. Shit gets down and dirty, I start sending niggas with hoods in your house. And I'ma be the last man standing on the block, popping off a man's hand cannon. Bitch, we on the planet, we coming at ya, killing them dead. Whatever the course of this, I bring the pain. We coming at ya, killing them dead. Whatever the course of this, I got a good mind to smack you, back you down and clap you. For real, my skill with the steel is factual. I can do a drop, tuck and roll, but when I hop up, unlock, cock, buck and blow, you got fucking told. God damn you, I ain't got enough enough money to hire hitmen, so I do my shit manual. I'm a hands-on nigga who don't mind getting my hands dirty. It's hard work, but my squad is worthy, and when we get it, we gon' keep it. In this game, we the best kept secret. The double niggas is the only niggas Temp creep with. You know how thugs do. We block the block, trying to avoid the cop, packing back with muzzle, and it really ain't a problem to let niggas get rich and then we rob them and put them in the obituary column. We real thugs with dangerous minds and a track record of mallaw for committing heinous crimes. We coming at ya, killing them dead, whatever the course of this. I bring the pain. We coming at ya, killing them dead, whatever the course of this. We coming at ya, killing them dead, whatever the course of this. I bring the pain. We coming at ya, killing them dead, whatever the course. See, I'm one of them heistmen in a car pumping mob deep, guns under the car seat, driving without a license, fucking with hood rats. Niggas see me gotta bounce somewhere uptown and wonder where the rest of my wolves at. Whoever I roam with, whether I'm alone, shit, just know Brownfield bound whenever I get homesick. Whether alone or we creep together, we keep peak tucked under the level, bless the holy streets forever. See, I was handpicked to draw steel and lock everything from the sawmill to the fair wick. Motherfucker, it's a raw deal. New York is up for grabs, y'all done bust your last nut off, and y'all about to get your power shut off. When the clock strike 12, I'ma pop like 12, and them niggas on your block might tell that they see a little nigga running down the street, dumping a 3x3 millimeter, hollering free me out. We coming at ya, killing them dead, whatever the course of this. I bring the pain. We coming at ya, killing them dead, whatever the course of this. We coming at ya, killing them dead, whatever the course of this. I bring the pain. We coming at ya, killing them dead, whatever the course of this.
It became what one outfit boss referred to as trunk music, a reference to the sound of a decaying body in a car trunk, which was where Smith had been placed after an outfit hit squad killed him. It was the case that changed the future of the Chicago mob, resulting in arrests and prison time, and was the forebearer to a much larger move by federal authorities 2 decades later. The car had been parked outside an Arlington Heights hotel. In the trunk, police found Hal Smith tortured, strangled with a rope, and mutilated. Investigators believe the outfit wanted him found to send a message. Anyone booking sports bets has to pay a street tax to the mob, and Smith wasn't. 5 years to the day later, 20 members of a mob street crew were indicted for racketeering, crimes including the Smith murder. Crew bosses Rocky and Felice and this man, Sally De Laurentiis, were among those charged, convicted, and sent away. It had been De Laurentiis who warned Smith that if he didn't pay the mob, he would end up as trunk music. This man was key to the case. Mobster B.J. Jehoda, who was involved in the gangland hit on Smith, had decided it was in his best interest to cooperate with authorities. He worked undercover, secretly recording 200 conversations with outfit associates. Jehoda's tapes and testimony and years of government evidence resulted in sweeping convictions.
They have been certainly replaced because several of those gentlemen were on a national commission. Because they went to jail or John Gotti goes to jail, the mob doesn't stop functioning.
The Hal Smith case was the precursor to Operation Family Secrets. That case, still 2 decades away, would decimate the outfit. The prosecutions from the Hal Smith murder, mobologists believe the Family Secrets case might never have been made. Sunday night after the Academy Awards, another Chicago mob legend, Sam Giancana, who plays an important part in the storyline of an Oscar-nominated film, The Irishman. Question is, did the movie get it wrong?
When you go and look at the evidence, it's just not there.
Did the Chicago outfit actually rig John F. Kennedy's 1960 presidential election? That's one important storyline in The Irishman, and one the I-Team will look at coming up this Sunday night.
Hushpet, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that the money we're robbing is being robbed? That somebody's robbing from us? We go through all this fucking trouble, and somebody's robbing us?
Like I said, it's part of the business. It's considered leakage. Leakage my balls. I want the guy who's robbing us.
James Marcello has had multiple mob nicknames. He's always favored Jimmy the Man, but at age 76 and residing in the nation's toughest prison, perhaps lately he's felt more like Little Jimmy, the name many of his underlings dared to use behind his back. Tonight, it's simply his proper name on a Chicago court petition aimed at tossing out his life sentence.
Get the camera on.
The last time Marcelo got out of prison, the I-Team was at his front door here in suburban Lombard, where associates had fired up cigars on the deck and heralded his return to outfit glory. His freedom didn't last long, though, and little Jimmy was one of 5 top hoodlums convicted in the 2007 Family Secrets racketeering case. Authorities said Marcelo delivered this man to his death. Tony Ant Spilatro, who was found dead with his brother Michael Spilatro in an Indiana cornfield, June 1986. James Marcelo sentenced to life and is imprisoned here at the Fed's Supermax facility in Colorado. Now tonight, Marcelo's attorneys have filed this petition in Chicago saying that he's serving his term under the most severe administrative measures in maximum security. And they are looking to challenge his sentence under last year's Supreme Court Davis ruling that found unconstitutional enhanced criminal penalties for using, carrying, or possessing a firearm in connection with any federal crime of violence. Tonight, I talked with former federal prosecutor Gil Sofer, ABC7's legal analyst.
It's one of the least appealing cases and sets of facts for a court to consider in giving somebody a break. But the analysis is going to be a legal one. Was he convicted under the statute that Davis was talking about, the Supreme Court was talking about? Can it be applied retroactively? And it wouldn't make any difference to him anyway, because his crimes were so serious, they could easily have yielded a life imprisonment sentence even without this.
Marcelo had only a year to challenge his sentence under the Supreme Court Davis ruling, and that decision came down on this date 1 year ago. Our legal analyst tonight says Marcelo faces numerous hurdles to win resentencing, and even then, if he is resentenced, he still might face life in prison for what he did. No response to I-Team messages from Marcelo's attorney, Don Angelini.
It didn't go too well. Green has to open up the books. Has to show how he got the financing. Hey, that's not good.
She was doing pretty good with her lawsuit. But before she could start counting her money, the boys back home decided to settle the case out of court instead. So they sent me.
Gregory Emmett Poloyan would be eligible for a gold wristwatch from the Chicago mob after 50 years of service, if the outfit actually gave out career awards. Instead tonight, the 66-year-old crime syndicate bookmaker is looking to spend a few of his golden years behind steel bars. Here at the Dirksen Federal Building late this afternoon, Judge Joan Lefkoe listened to Poloyan beg for mercy in the form of probation, informing the court that he was recently diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's disease. He had struck this plea deal with the government in January, admitting to running a large-scale sports gambling operation and falsifying his taxes. According to his guilty plea, Poloyan took bets on professional football, basketball, baseball, hockey, and college sports. His Facebook page didn't hide the money he saw in booking illegal sports bets for decades, flouting his earnings with a laptop pictured on his couch, one tool of a bookmaker whom prosecutors say hauled in hundreds of thousands of dollars in an average month handling bets, and vigorously pressing high-stakes losers to pay up, with the threat of the outfit always present. In the end, Judge Lefkoe handing Poloyan 2.5 years in prison, leaving the career bookie to wonder out loud whether it will turn out to be a death sentence for gambling. And he asked, what does this sentence accomplish? Greg Poloyan promised that if he got probation, he would never book another bet. After court, the I-Team asked Poloyan if he wanted to talk about his sentence, which was on the lower end of what federal prosecutors requested. According to his attorney, the Elmwood Park native tonight is still digesting today's disappointment. Poloyan has to surrender for prison by May the 20th.
The point of scamming you for being scammed defeats the whole purpose of what we're doing out there.
You know, they take this money because they're my guys. So you gotta give them some leeway.
But the bosses never believed in leeway, so listen to what they do. They put Artie Piscano, the underboss of KC, in charge of making sure nobody skimmed the skim.
What have you been doing out there?
What's out there with my Gomad?
You Gomad? What are you doing with your Gomad?
What else? I gave her a scaff.
The only trouble was Piscano was a disaster. This guy could fuck up a cup of coffee.
What the hell have you been doing out there, Artie?
I'm out there more than I'm here.
And little did anybody know where this would all lead. If they did, they would have been better off making fucking novenas.
You gotta go back there and talk to that guy.
Come on, go back. I never got paid my expenses for the last trip.
What expenses?
Well, I'm going all over laying money out of my own pocket and I never get anything back. What the hell's going on?
You gotta go back out there.
Well, then from now on, I'm gonna start keeping records.
Artie, no records, Artie. What are you gonna do with records? Pay taxes?
I don't care. Keep laying out my own fucking dough for these trips and nothing ever comes back. I mean, what the hell's going on? What are we doing over here?
You're going out to Las Vegas. You're having a good time at my expense. The fuck? I mean...
Tonight from the ABC 7i team, a renowned Chicago mob name has a new business. Frank Calabrese Jr. is now running the Family Secrets bus tour, a guided ride to outfit crime member scenes. Eyewitness News investigative reporter Chuck County joining us tonight. He has details.
Kathy, when somebody associated with the Chicago mob says, let's take a ride, it usually doesn't end well. But that is the motto of the new Family Secrets tour in Chicago, operated by Frank Calabrese Jr., whose cooperation with the FBI in 1998 triggered the government's Family Secrets mob murder case. Tonight, the I-team has talked to Calabrese about his new business and to some people who want the business to fail.
My father felt it was a perfect spot to kill somebody and bury him. So one of the little plays that they do is you dig the hole first and you put plywood over and you put gravel on top of the plywood so you don't waste a lot of time while you're there.
Frank Calabrese Jr. on the maiden voyage of his Family Secrets tour, rolling from downtown to the south side, 2 hours, $40 a head. Stories from inside the outfit from someone whose father, Frank the Breeze Calabrese, was a top Chicago crime boss.
He's always told me if you're going to kill somebody, you got to follow through with it. Otherwise, you're always going to have to fear that person or that person can take revenge.
Calabrese and his father were in federal prison in 1998. Jr. wrote a letter to the FBI offering to cooperate against his abusive dad and the mob. The result, Operation Family Secrets. 14 top hoodlums indicted, 18 mob murders solved. Among them, Cicero bar owner Richard Ortiz over a money dispute. Calabrese Sr. repeatedly blasting Ortiz with a shotgun.
I was 12 years old when he got killed.
Ortiz's son and widow weren't happy Calabrese Jr. wrote a book about the outfit and now say his mob bus tour is a new low.
Why should he benefit anything with this? He doesn't deserve that. What his father did was wrong, but it's very wrong what he's trying to do. As far as taking a bus and going and, showing people. That, to me, is disgusting.
I mean, he was the rat, so I think the rat should just crawl back in his hole.
They have that right to say, was he making money? And, I'm trying to take something that was bad and make it good for more than one reason. The tour doesn't focus on murders, and it focuses on the evolution of the Chicago mob.
Slowly, when you're in this life, you lose your soul. And you start justifying, criminal justification. Gee, if you would just pay me that money, Andrew, I wouldn't have broke your legs. I wouldn't have had to kill your family.
Calabrese's father died in prison 5 years ago while serving a life sentence. His hitman, Uncle Nick, is in witness protection after also becoming a government witness. Calabrese Jr. says he is always worried about his own safety, but now just trying to make a living telling his story. He says his dad would not approve of these tours.
He said, fighting over those suitcases again. You know what that means, right? You know what that means, right? That means I got to take another trip out to Vegas, and it's going to cost me another couple of grand.
He ran it with his brother-in-law, but mostly what he did was complain about his trips to Vegas to his brother-in-law and to mother all the time.
Gotta lay down the law, otherwise they're gonna make a fool out of you.
They make a fool out of me. I write it all down in this book. Every fucking nickel goes down right here. Receipts here. Receipts here, bills here. Everything's here.
Since when do you talk like that?
I'm sorry. Nance gives me trouble, and I'll tell him, screw around with those suitcases, and I'll take the eyes out of his freaking head.
Again.
I didn't Chris, that's a freaking head.
That's enough.
I'm sorry.
Kathy, the feds declared war on Chicago mobsters 58 years ago this week when then FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover started the nation's top hoodlum program. Now, decades later, the new FBI boss in Chicago is throwing down a new gauntlet for the city's hoodlums. In an interview with the I-Team, warning organized crime leaders here they've not been forgotten by federal law enforcement, despite the FBI also being focused on terrorism, corruption, and street violence.
A group of people who wake up every single day with the idea of stealing and taking money from other people through intimidation and power is a group that we need to look at.
It was 2005 that the Family Secrets mob murder case unfolded, taking down 14 top hoodlums, solving 18 gangland killings. Tonight, after a decade-long lull in major mob cases here, the newly installed head of the FBI in Chicago pledging to refocus on organized crime.
The Chicago outfit, we haven't forgotten about you.
That proclamation comes exactly 58 years to the week since the FBI Director Hoover started the nation's top hoodlum program. It was a secret and aggressive effort against the Chicago outfit, according to these newly obtained FBI records, planting listening devices in a Michigan Avenue tailor shop and in a Forest Park tavern, both frequented by mob bosses. During the top hoodlum investigation, law enforcement technology was in its infancy, authorities having to hide microphones the size of 16-inch softballs, one of them inside this Gold Coast tailor shop, pictured on this blog by the daughter of the long-past tailor himself. The implanted microphone was nicknamed Little Al by law enforcement agents in memory of Al Capone. 6 decades ago, such a hidden device required no court order, only the approval of FBI Director Hoover. Tonight, the tactics may be better regulated, but the aim of dismantling organized crime remains.
Mob guys or outfit guys, whatever you want to call them, are resilient. The reason that they don't kill people the same way they did 25 years ago is because it's bad for business.
Solet cut his teeth on mob cases in the Northeast, taking down the capo of the Bonanno crime family in New York City and leading the manhunt for Boston mob fugitive Whitey Bulger. In Chicago, there are new names and faces, but the same old rackets, loan sharking, union corruption, and public payoffs that grease the wheels of organized crime. Those are consistent.
It's still in business. Right.
I mean, who the hell would believe that the FBI had a wire in the place looking for some information about some old homicide, about some guy who was whacked out God knows when over God knows what?
To prevent them with the suitcases that he can take what he wants. Fucking Nancy brings us back 2 suitcases from the Tangiers, and what about 3 or 4? We got nobody in the room to watch. That's the law. You know we can't even go into the counter to watch our money? Could you believe this cowboy bullshit? And sure, he's got his people in there. But how do you know? They could all be in on it together, those miserable fucks. I'll find out. And if it's Green himself, I'll bury that bastard. I've never trusted him. And you know, I got eyes behind my head. They trust that scumbag. I don't. Right now, the way I feel, I'll hit the 2 of them in the head with a fucking shovel. Mom, I'm sorry. They're beating me up tonight. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm all upset.
I know,
you know what they're doing to me. I can't take this no more. Back and forth, back and forth.
Take it easy.
All right. But
I get a heart attack like
I'm too upset right now. And then has to be put to this.
And the damn thing is, they go and hear all this stuff about Las Vegas and the casinos and suitcases, and that's
I have to
it.
start handling things the way I did years ago. Start kicking in. I'll do it. And I'll use the goddamn shovel. Because everything's coming out of my pocket. I gotta pay for all these trips back and forth, back and forth.
What can I tell you?
Would you believe that such a thing could happen?
I'm in this to make money, not to lose money. And
Every FBI man across the country had their ears open now.
Because if you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself.
Then do it the way you want. What can I tell you?
I mean, Piscano, this guy, basically sunk the whole world.
That's the way people are. There's some that are good, there's some that are bad.
As the I-Team reported a year and a half ago, Shiro wanted out from his federal sentence because prisons were a breeding ground for COVID. Well, tonight, a Chicago judge has now ruled that Shiro must remain behind bars. When he worked as an outfit enforcer, Paul Shiro was nicknamed the Indian, not to honor his heritage, according to investigators, but because he was a ruthless mob warrior. But as the aging Shiro watched his days go by through the bars here at Butner Federal Penitentiary, last year he grew frightened of the threat from COVID-19 on his already frail health. His lengthy motion for compassionate relief was the first filed by a Chicago hoodlum looking to play the COVID card. And since then, some outfit soldiers and other criminals have been released. But Shiro was put away after being among those convicted in the government's Operation Family Secrets mob murder trial. In 1986, he had murdered this Arizona businessman, Emil Vachi, whom outfit bosses had feared was cooperating with law enforcement in a casino death case. Vachi's daughter telling Chicago Judge John Blakey that we are the victims, not Paul Shiro, because of his failing health and COVID-19. Tonight, here at the North Carolina prison where Paul Shiro is locked up, he's received word that Judge Blakey didn't buy his request for early release, not because of COVID or because of Shiro's deteriorating health. According to this order, the judge says Shiro needs to stay in prison to provide just punishment for his role in the cold-blooded murder of an individual thought to be a potential witness against the infamous racketeering enterprise to which Shiro belonged. In their original request for mercy, Shiro's attorney said the mobster was now too old and sick to misbehave. And the lawyers asked the judge, in this kind of case, is there room for compassion? Tonight, the unvarnished answer to that question means Shiro will now be required to serve out his full family secret sentence with an out date of April 4th, 2024.
And I couldn't believe this shit. Cascano's expense reports took the cake.
This is good. Bingo.
He might as well have given him a fucking blueprint. Everybody's names, addresses, dates, everything.
Look at this. Thank you so much, Mr. Piscano. How considerate of you. Appreciate it.
Those are my mother's books.
Right.
You're under arrest.
What a fucking balloon head.
Move back. Come on.
Start now.
Poor Artie. He got so upset he had a heart attack and dropped dead right there in front of his wife.